Shooting suspect James Holmes is due in court Monday morning, the start of what could be months of legal proceedings. With me from Washington, D.C. is clinical psychologist Dr. Stanton Samenow. From New York, former NYPD Lieutenant Commander Vernon Geberth. And here in Colorado, former FBI criminal profiler Candace Delong. Thanks, everyone, for being with us this evening. And Candace, I'm going to start with you. You're a criminal profiler. What have you seen about this guy that triggers some thoughts in you about where he fits in the profile of criminals?
Well, I was a psychiatric nurse long before I was an FBI profiler, and I worked with people that did this kind of thing periodically. And some of the things that we know he did the night of the shooting are indicative of mental illness.
What?
A few red flags. One of them was people sinking into mental problems. When they do this kind of thing, erupt violently, oftentimes they imitate a murder or murderers that they're fascinated with. In this particular case, a fictional murderer, the Joker. Another thing is they are loners and they acquire weaponry. Those are all indicators. Had anyone seen this coming, those would certainly have been the red flags that this guy needs to be picked up and brought in for evaluation.
Well, but you know what? The fact that the guy's a loner and, he's into a movie and everything.
That's not enough.
No, so, what would the signs be that tell you this guy is on the edge?
Had we known about acquiring 4 or 5 weapons, including assault weapons and 6,000 rounds of ammo, people don't do that just want to seed their garden. He was preparing for what he did. For something that was on a grand scale. All right, Vernon Geberth. Vern, what can you tell us about this guy based on what you've read and heard about? What does it tell you?
Well, he's not like any other mass murderer that I'm familiar with, in that most mass murderers are angry, loner, psychotic individuals who harbor a deep revenge towards their fellow man. This individual who systematically prepared for this was actually acting out a fantasy in which he was going to take on the persona of the Joker. And whether or not he's delusional or whether or not he's psychotic, it doesn't really matter. He actually took on this persona and went to that location bent on acting out this very sadistic and evil act in which those poor innocent victims merely became props in his highly violent fantasy.
But Vern, what was this guy angry about? I mean, we've watched this play out. What was he so angry about? We still don't know what he's angry about.
Well, the Joker kills indiscriminately. He took on the persona of the Joker. It was fun to kill. Okay, and for whatever reason he did what he did, and I don't think anybody's going to put a motive on it. The bottom line is that he's acting as a comic book killer and takes on this alter ego that gives him a power that he really doesn't have in life. That's something to consider. His actual life was
let me go to Dr. All right, Dr. Samenow, let me ask you this. You've written a book, Inside the Criminal Mind. I mean, what do you know from what we've heard about this guy so far? Where does he fit in the scheme of your book?
With all due respect, there's absolutely no reason to assume that he is mentally ill unless you want to torture the definition of mental illness. I have interviewed dozens of offenders, including mass murderers, over a career of 40 years. These are people who do not announce their intentions to others. For years, they can harbor fantasies. These are people who pursue power, control for their own sake. These are individuals who can be very accomplished, but if you had a film of their lives, you would find that they were difficult in many respects. When the world didn't go the way they want, they drop out. They become loners. And another reason they're loners, of course, is that they have an awful lot going on inside them. The fantasizing, the scheming, they don't want others to know about it. They don't want to share who they are with others.
Doctor, do you think, and I'm going to throw this out to the three of you, and I know it's kind of tough because we're on satellite here, but what do you think in terms of this guy being a loner? Do you really think that absolutely no one else knew about this?
I don't think that at all. I think the people he was closest to, whatever closeness that was his most recent affiliation with his grad program. This man had tremendous academic accomplishments to get to where he was. in this PhD program at the University of Colorado, and that he either was asked to leave or voluntarily left at the end of June. That's only 6 weeks ago. It's also, we know he started acquiring guns just before that. Somebody at the University of Colorado
had an inkling. Is that what you're saying?
An instructor, an advisor,
somebody
students.
Must have known.
Must have seen something.
All right, Dr. Samenow, do you think that he was alone in the planning of this horrific crime, or do you think there's somebody out there that knew what he was doing?
No, he absolutely was alone. I think in the preparation for this crime, he built a self-esteem. I'm sure as he acquired the weapons and the materials that he had and he booby-trapped in his apartment, I'm sure with each passing day, he built into this alter ego. And when he tried on that ballistic material, that helmet, those leggings, it gave him a power he didn't have before. And I think that's what drove him. And when he went to that movie theater, he was ready.
All right. And let me just quickly, Dr. Samenow, do you think he was absolutely alone in this, or that there's someone who knew what he was going to do?
There's absolutely no reason to assume that anyone knew what he was going to do. As I said earlier, these are people who harbor ideas, fantasies. They share them with nobody. On the outside, they may appear entirely normal. Inside, they are seething with all sorts of anger at a world that they think doesn't give them what they're due.
Okay. All right, Doctor. And coming up next, what was James Holmes' motive? Why did he do what he did? And this is a special edition of Justice. This is a special Justice report on the Colorado movie massacre, the one that claimed the lives of 12 innocent people and injured dozens more. Still with me, Dr. Stanton, Samenow, Vernon Geberth, and Candace Delong. All right, guys, let's continue in our conversation. And I'm going to go to you, Dr. Samenow. You wrote the book, Inside the Criminal Mind. Is this guy a criminal, or is he insane?
Judge, the crimes are sickening, but it does not mean that he is sick. There is no, and I underline, no reason to assume that he is mentally ill. The evidence so far suggests that he was purposeful, deliberate, and calculating in what he did, and this thinking went on over a period of weeks and even months.
Months. Okay, Vern, I'll go to you. Is this a criminal mind or an insane mind?
No, I absolutely believe it's criminal mind, and no one's talking about the word evil. This is an evil act. And whether or not he was fantasizing about being this alter ego, the bottom line is 12 people are dead and many people are injured. And I don't see insanity as a viable defense because of the preparation, the systematic preparation, and how he played this off up to and including not opening fire until the fire in the movie began. Actually had people believing it was part of the props. You know, and most of these psychotic individuals that in mass murders end up committing suicide or get shot by the police. This guy was not prepared to die. He surrendered meekly to the police.
Vern, I love that you went there. Here's the thing, Vern. Number one, in most of the mass murders, we see that they're either shot by the police, that they shoot themselves, or that there is, you know, an attempt on the part of the defendant to escape. This guy surrendered like a coward, even though he had on ballistic leggings. He had on a throat protector, a groin protector. I mean, why did he wimp out at the end? What does that tell you?
Because he's going to bask in the limelight. When anybody ever goes to this movie, Dark Knight Rising, he's going to be remembered as the Colorado shooter. He put himself into that movie. He's now a celebrity in his mind. And I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to act that way.
And Judge, you have to realize that there is excitement at every phase of a crime like this, certainly like this. Thinking about it, fantasizing about it, excitement en route to the crime, preparing for it, committing it, and then in the publicity thereafter.
Absolutely.
So I think I definitely agree. This man is now a celebrity, and I put that word in quotes deliberately.
I agree.
You know, and I have to tell you, Doctor, I hate even using the guy's name, but let me go back to Candace Delong. Candace, you heard the guy's deliberation, planning. I was at the press conference with the chief and everyone else. Months months of collecting the stuff he needed for this crime.
Yes.
In criminal mind or insane mind?
I think it's well, it's looking criminal, but I think it's too soon to know. We need much more information about what was going on the last few months as to whether or not he's insane. Psychotic people are capable of planning things out. There have been some horrible, dreadful, some of the worst crime scene murders I've ever seen committed by psychotic people who are hearing voices and delusional, yet they brought a gun and they hid evidence.
Yeah.
They do have their moments of lucidity.
And asked for a lawyer. I mean, come on, Candace. All right, guys. Do you think that we'll ever know this guy's motive? Vern, start with you.
Well, I think that after this immediate media blitz stops and the defense attorneys start bringing in all the clinical people to try to find an apology for this bad conduct, I think eventually he's going to be giving interviews. I think that he is going to, for the rest of his life, attach himself to this particular persona. And that's a murder cop's perspective.
All right, Dr. Samenow, motive? Will we ever find out the motive?
No, I don't think so. I think there is a lot that will not come out. I think if we had a film of this man's life, we would see a lot more that would be evidence of a criminal mind. And just as in the Columbine case and others, there are always going to be far more questions than answers.
And that's a shame. But final question, Candace Delong. You're the FBI profiler, and the chief said today at the press conference that there will be people from Quantico brought in so that we can get a sense of what motivated this guy. Will we ever know his motive, Candace?
I think we will. I wouldn't be surprised if when all the dust settles here, he does tell someone. His reasons why he did this, no matter what, crazy or not, are going to be horrible, but they will make perfect sense to him.
Scary stuff. Anyway, Candace Delong, Dr. Samenow, and Vernon Geberth, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
He's evil.